Hi, it's Steve. In this video, we'd like to show you how to disassemble a GE dryer for service or cleaning. We'll show you where the most common components are located and the easiest way to access them. If you have a specific part that you're looking to replace, simply visit our website and using your model number, search for that part and we may have a specific repair video just for you. Now, the GE dryer that we've chosen is one that has a rear console, and these were manufactured for probably 15 or more years in one version or another. The one that we've chosen has a metal backsplash on it. Some of the newer styles would have had a plastic backsplash, but the disassembly procedures are very much the same. So the first thing we'll show you is what is actually behind that console. We have access then to our timer, our temperature selector switch, as well as our start switch. Now, depending on the model that you have, the screws that secure that control panel to the housing will either be a number 2 Phillips screw or possibly a number 20 Torx screw. So our first step will be to remove those. Now, once we've removed the screws, you can then just tilt that forward. You would need to simply lift 3 tabs out of some slotted openings on the main top. With it released, we can then lay it flat on its face and we have access to those individual components, our start switch, temperature selector switch, buzzer, and our timer. Now, from the front of the dryer, with the door open, we have access to replace our door gasket or the door strike. And if needed, you can remove the hinges from the front panel and replace the hinges as well. Now, to gain access to the rest of the components with this dryer, we'll need to remove the front panel. To get the front panel off, we need to take the top off. On this style of dryer, there are typically 2 screws, so we need to remove both of those screws. Next, we would just lift up on the front edge of that main top, and we'll need to disengage it from some clips along the side, as well as those tabs that we saw on the console. So with it tilted up, we can then slide it off of those tabs, and then we can remove it. Now, with that main top removed, we have 2 screws, one on either side, that secure the front panel to the cabinet. And you'll want to support that front panel as you remove the second screw. Now, we have the weight of the drum sitting on that front bearing, which is attached to that front panel. So you may want to just lift up gently on that drum, allow the front panel to tilt forward. Now, on the left-hand side, we have a wire harness, so you'll need to be careful as we pull that away that we don't damage that harness or the connections to the door switch. You'll also note square holes in the bottom of that front panel that sit on some tabs attached to the cabinet. So with the panel tilted forward, we're simply going to lift it off and then we'll pivot it to the left. Use caution with that wire harness that we don't stretch it or damage it. Once we have that front panel in a resting position, we can open up this cover, just pull the tab away from the slot in the front panel. That will expose the wires to the switch, so we can disconnect those. We'll remove a single wire there, a single wire there, and then the one that uses a common terminal actually has a inline connector that we can release. We need to separate both halves of that connector. And now we can safely set that front panel aside. Now, with that front panel removed, we have access to some of the internal components that are attached to that front panel. In particular, the upper bearing assembly with the actual drum glides that are replaceable. You also have the lower felt seal around the front. The lower portion of that housing, which encompasses the lint filter housing, as well as the blower inlet and the blower inlet seal. Now, to gain access to the rest of the components in this style of dryer, we need to remove the drum. Now, the drum is supported at the rear with a bearing in the very center, but also we have the belt that goes around that drum, as well as around the motor pulley and the idler pulley. So to get that drum out of there, we need to remove the belt. The tension of the idler pulley makes that a little more difficult. Now, the idler assembly is located directly in line with the motor on the left-hand side here. So to release the tension on that idler, we'll need to slide one hand into this gap, as well as another through the opposite side. And then we're going to pull that pulley to release the tension on the belt with our left hand. We'll flip that belt off of the motor pulley and then carefully release the tension on that idler and allow it to come over to the left side. Now, because there is not much of a gap between the circumference of that drum and the opening in the cabinet, we suggest that you remove a single screw that secures the right hand side of that cabinet to the support bracket. And then we'll just flex that cabinet a little bit to give us a little more room. We'll pull it through that opening, and then we can set that aside. Now, with this style of a dryer, the bearing is attached to a metal shaft that is secured to the center of that drum at the rear. You can replace that bearing kit, or just simply the bearing surface itself will come off. Now, with the drum removed, we have access to all the other major components in this dryer. Located on the rear panel, we have our heater housing with the element. We have the housing in the center that supports the bearing. We also have high limit thermostat, a cycling thermostat, and a thermal cutoff on this side. We also have our motor, our idler wheel and bracket, and our cycling thermostat. Thank you so much for watching this video. We certainly hope that it was helpful to you. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a thing.